would be good or harmful. Asked for comment on Parliament's recent passages of 3 contentious judicial reform bills and votes in the Supreme Court on Tuesday, Joe said that he, quote, respects the National Assembly's legislative activities. Joe said the judiciary will, under any circumstances, fulfill its mission under the Constitution, indicating that he would faithfully assume his role as Chief Justice amid the substantial changes the judiciary is set to face. Joe said it was difficult to agree with the ruling Democratic Party's argument that judicial reform is necessary to regain the public's trust, arguing that many nations and international organizations have requested exchanges with South Korea to learn about its judicial system. The Cabinet has authorized the creation of 2 new criminal justice agencies as the October dissolution of the Prosecutor's Office draws near. The Cabinet, during a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Kim Min-seok on Tuesday, approved bills that would replace the current office with a prosecution-only agency and transfer investigations to a new standalone bureau. The legislation has been under discussion since the National Assembly passed a government reorganization bill last September, which would abolish the prosecutor's office for the first time in 78 years. The government partially revised the bills after its initial legislative notices drew criticism in January. The new draft legislation proposes narrowing the investigative body's jurisdiction from 9 to 6 categories of crime, including corruption, economy, defense, narcotics, cybercrime, and insurrection, and supporting foreign aggression. A full court has begun deliberating the pre-trial distinction of the Democratic Party from Senate Representative Kang Sung-ho, who stands accused of receiving roughly 100 million won, or roughly $68,000 US, from former Seoul City Council member Kim Kyung ahead of the 2022 local elections. The Seoul Metropolitan Court began deliberating the prosecution's request to remand Kang in custody on charges of bribery and violations of the Political Funds Act and anti-graft law at 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Upon arriving at the court, Kyung apologized for causing controversy and vowed to provide a thorough explanation. Around 1 p.m. the same day, the court finished reviewing the potential pretrial detention of Kim Kyung. Kim is currently awaiting the court's decision in a holding cell in the Seoul Mapo police station. The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative said South Korea has promised not to discriminate against U.S. companies. In its 2026 trade policy agenda and 2025 annual report released on Monday, the office said South Korea has, quote, committed that its laws and policies on digital services, including network usage fees and online competition regulations, will not discriminate against U.S. companies and to facilitate cross-border transfer of data. And that's the news from KBS World Radio's News Center in Seoul. This has been Monica Chin.
Hello, it's Tuesday, March 3rd, and welcome to Call 24. I'm your host, Alana Hill. South Korea said some of its nationals in Iran are evacuating to safer areas as embassy support after U.S. and Israeli strikes. More on that on News Briefing. President Lee Jae-myung continues with his verbal warnings against real estate speculation. Today on In Depth, we zoom in on the current housing market, what policies may come next, and whether strong stock performances could draw money away from real estate. And on How You Channel, Bastion's record-setting new EP, the latest K-pop-linked film, and stars throwing first pitches at the World Baseball Classic. Today's Korea 24 starts right now. Amid rising tensions in the Middle East following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran, the Foreign Minister said some South Korean nationals staying in Iran are evacuating to safer areas. Our KBS World Radio News reporter, Beji Yon, joins us now in the studio to give us the latest on this story and other headlines of the day. Hello, Yon. Hello, Alana. Okay, so what do we know about this evacuation? How many Koreans are leaving Iran?
The Foreign Ministry declined to disclose the exact number of evacuees. Oh, wow. Citing safety concerns, as announced on Tuesday that some Korean nationals are relocating with assistance from the Korean Embassy and other diplomatic missions. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Park Il said that the government is receiving requests from citizens
wishes to return home and is taking necessary measures where evacuation plans are needed. And staying on the situation in the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump has hinted that war with Iran could last a month or longer, while not ruling out sending ground troops in the future if they were necessary. Gian, tell us more. In his first public remarks at the White House on Monday since the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran, Trump defended his decision, saying that Iran's missile program and ballistic missile capabilities were on the verge of threatening the U.S. mainland. This is what he said.
We warned Iran not to make any attempt to rejoin at a different location because they were unable to use the ones we so powerful blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons.
I understand that Trump also laid out 4 objectives of the U.S. military operation known as Epic Fury. What are they? Preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, destroying its missile arsenal and production sites, annihilating Iran's navy, and ensuring the regime cannot arm, fund, or direct its armies outside its borders. He said the military is prepared to continue the operation as long as necessary. Let's listen to what he said.
And we have, both from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it, whatever.
In a brief telephone interview with the New York Post on Monday, Trump did not rule out sending ground troops in the future if they were necessary. And in a brief phone interview with CNN on Monday morning, Trump said that the U.S. military operation in Iran was going very well and warned that a big wave is yet to come. In Seoul, the government convened on Tuesday an emergency meeting of related agencies to discuss the conflict. What was discussed? During the meeting chaired by First Vice Finance Minister the government said that although pressures on the Strait of Hormuz are escalating, there is no evidence that South Korean ships in the region are in danger. The government said that although South Korea holds sufficient oil reserves, it will seek to secure supplies outside the Middle East as the Strait of Hormuz is closed. He stressed the need for all relevant agencies to closely monitor developments in the region and to keep all options open, given the high level of uncertainty. Meanwhile, the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran sent the futures index on the benchmark Kospi market plunging, prompting the Korea Exchange to activate the sidecar mechanism on Tuesday. Jian, tell us about that. The Korea Exchange said it had activated the sidecar mechanism at around 12:05 p.m. after the Kospi 200 futures index was 5.09% or 47.75 points from the previous trading day to 890.05. The suspension, which was automatically lifted after 5 minutes, came roughly a month after the previous low. A sidecar is activated when Kospi 200 futures rise or fall by at least 5% from the previous session's close, right? Yes, and when they remain at that level for 1 minute. The Kospi plunged 452.22 points or 7.24% on Tuesday to close at 5,791.91. Now let's get the latest on President Lee Jae-myung's overseas travel. He arrived in Manila on Tuesday for a summit with the Philippine president. I understand that Lee's visit carries special significance. Yes, because he is the first state guest to visit the Philippines this year, and the trip coincides with the 77th anniversary of diplomatic ties on March 3rd, according to National Security Advisor Lee Jae-myung. In their summit, Lee and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. are set to discuss cooperation in defense infrastructure, trade, nuclear power, shipbuilding, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence. When did the two leaders last hold a summit? Last October, when they met on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. In Seoul, the presidential office said Lee's visit, which follows a 3-day state visit to Singapore, would broaden bilateral cooperation based on the two nations' long-standing historical ties and friendships. Switching gears now, Supreme Court Chief Justice Cho Hee-jae says he respects the National Assembly's legislative activities following the passage of 3 contentious bills on judicial reform. He also had something to say to the public about the topic. What was that? He urged the public to carefully consider whether a sudden and major transformation of the judiciary would be good or harmful when asked people to comment on the bill's passage. Cho said the judiciary will, under any circumstances, fulfill its mission under the Constitution.
indicating that he would faithfully assume his role as Chief Justice amid the substantial changes the judiciary is set to face.
And he also commented on the Democratic Party's argument that judicial reform is necessary to regain the public trust. And what did he have to say on that matter?
He said it was difficult to agree with such claim, arguing that many nations and international organizations have requested exchanges with South Korea to learn about its judicial system. Asked about a delay in recommending a successor to Roh Tae-ak, who retired from the court on Tuesday, Cho said he is consulting with the presidential office.